He-chan. Go away. He-chan. Leave me alone. Come on, He-chan. Let me sleep. After 2 nights of not being able to sleep at all, the last thing I want is to be woken when I finally manage to. It may be the last period of class with a textbook as my pillow, but I'll take whatever sleep I can get by this point. See, He-chan, even She-chan wants you to get up. I don't care what Shizune wants, leave me alone. Geez, He-chan, I'll just have to wake. Wait, Misha's going to... You... This is bad. I'm up, you don't have to... I can feel my face flowering into a scarlet red blush. The students still in class are sitting bolt upright and staring at the shouting fool who was sleeping just moments before. Damn it, I say. I let my head smack down on the table with a noticeable thud. Wah! Misha's trademark uncontrolled laughter reverberates throughout the classroom. As I turn my mournful eyes to the bespectacled Shizune beside her, she carefully adjusts her glasses, desperately trying to maintain a look of serious disapproval. Narrowing my eyes, I can see the badly hidden grin spreading across her face. Et tu, Shizune? She looks away quickly as she crosses her arms tightly, barely on the edge of her control. Misha's laughter doubles in volume as she glances at Shizune. All I can do is drag my hand down my face in resignation. You too, I say. Who was the one who slept in class, He-chan? Yeah, it was me. Poor She-chan was having a fit trying to wake you up, weren't you? I move my eyes back to the standoffish Shizune, who with a single huff of confirmation returns to looking away with her arms crossed. Why was Shizune trying to wake me up? She-chan wanted to give you the handouts the substitute teacher gave out while He-chan was sleeping. Handouts? I suddenly find 2 sheets of paper thrust down in front of my face. Following the hand holding them, I see the still pouting figure looking down at me with a distinct scowl. I guess I really am in the wrong here. Sorry about that. No dice. Her irritated face still holds. I clasp my hands together and flick my head downwards in apology. Very, very sorry, I say. She huffs and simply drops the papers on the desk. Damn. I look up over my hands to see Shizune and Misha signing frantically to each other, a look of frustration on Shizune's face. It looks to be less a dialogue and more of a tirade, punctuated with sidelong glances at me. To say it's unsettling is a understatement. The two suddenly stop signing and look at me in unison, both having exactly the same look of disapproval. In one fluid motion, Misha's hand suddenly extends high above me and comes rocketing down. Before I can even hope to react, my head is sent bouncing up and down like a jack-in-the-box. I quickly bring my hands to my head, more out of reflex than actual pain. Ow! What was that for, I say? I open my eyes to see the two grinning at each other while exchanging an enthusiastic thumbs up. She-chan says she forgives you now, He-chan. Could you forgive me with a little less force next time? I look at the two with a blank face. Nishin Shizune 1, Hisao 0. Shizune signs. Oh, She-chan also says that you should check your student mail more often. She produces a bright yellow envelope and hands it over with an exuberant grin. Strange. Who could have written me a letter? Now is not the time, and most definitely not the place to find out, though. Giving up on the nap so cruelly stolen from me, I rub my forehead and slowly get up, putting the sheets and envelope in my bag before swinging it over my shoulder. I take a step back and move to depart with a small bow, while Misha clutches her sides laughing and Shizune nods back in a curt farewell. I join the flow of students exiting the open door and turn the corner into the hallway, only to end up face to face with Hanako. Whoa! Oh, hey, Hanako. Good afternoon, Hisao. Silence falls between us as busily chatting students pass us by. She's fidgeting constantly, her eyes drawn to her rather unremarkable footwear. I take the bridge of my nose in my fingers while I blink my eyes heavily in an attempt to make things seem clearer. I'm barely staying awake as it is. Hanako, you want to say something, I say. What is it? I wanted to give you this. She holds out a small rectangular piece of paper. I blink again to make out the text through barely open eyes, slowly starting to make out what's written. Eggs times 2, bread loaf times 1, whole grain cereal times 1, time times 1. A shopping list, I ask? I look upwards, raising an eyebrow. I usually go shopping with Lilly, but I can't come, so... You want me to run errands for you? It's okay if you don't want to. I just thought that maybe, She's panicking. I sigh. Yet another bottle lost, though this time by a weakly fought surrender. I smile tiredly and rest a hand on her head to calm her down. It's fine. I was going to go anyway. Just the stuff on this list? She nods, then bows deeply, twice, as if to make her gratitude perfectly clear. We were going to meet outside the school gates at 6. Thank you. I was going to get it, but I need to study for the test tomorrow. Test? Ah, that's right, science. How are you doing with it? She brightens ever so slightly. I've been spending more time on it than before. I think I can do okay. Good work, then. She too starts smiling, and much more earnestly than I at that. I have full confidence that I can do fine in it without any extra studying, but the fact that she's putting in the effort instead of just reading in the library is heartening. I'll grab your stuff and take it to your dorm in the evening. See ya. With a small wave, we part ways. I'll go do my homework before meeting Lilly. I should be able to take care of it in time. Wrangling with a particularly complicated math problem has caused me to be a little bit late for my meeting with Lilly. Only a couple minutes, but enough to make me step smartly out into the school courtyard and to the school gate. I make a right turn and start my way toward the small town below, leaving a few students turning the other way to the bus station. I slip my right hand into my pocket as I walk in the orange sunlight of dusk. Thankfully, the sweltering summer heat's starting to die down, making way for a pleasant, cool breeze. When I stretch my hands high above my head, a familiar figure takes form, cane in her right hand. Ah, Lilly. She stops and turns around, swiveling her head slightly to try and work out exactly where the voice came from. Hey, it's me, I say. I quickly catch up to her, coming in beside her and matching her slow pace as we resume walking. Good afternoon, Hisao. Hi there. I glance up at the sky. A distinct tinge of orange discolors the clouds, washing the footpath in its light. Long shadows from the trees fall across the wide road down the hill. So, Hisao, what brings you here? Just going to town to grab some groceries. Hanako sent me. Hanako sent you? Yeah, she said she needed to study for a test tomorrow, I tell her. I was going to come down anyway, so I'll just buy her stuff as well. Unspoken is that Lilly really could use some help to get food, but it's an obvious fact that neither of us needs to state. It's good to hear she's studying for it. I thought the same thing when she asked me to come with you, I agree. We continue walking down the street, the familiar sound of her cane echoing through the air as we go. Except for the occasional passing car and the leaves whispering in the branches, there's a blissful silence. Thank God I can finally relax for the first time today. I glance over at Lilly. That porcelain face of hers never seems to lack that air of relaxed confidence. I guess the same could be said of her personality, too. As she silently walks, her face remains pointed to the street ahead of her. I look ahead and savor the cool air blowing over my face. This is probably the calmest moment I've had since the about-face my life took so recently. To have it while walking to get some groceries. What a weird life. I feel the crumpled up note rubbing against my hand in my pocket and pull it out to check its contents. Let's see here, I say. Eggs, bread, cereal, thyme, lettuce, shaved ham. That sounds like quite a bit to carry back along with your own, Lilly says. Yeah, just how much does this girl eat anyway? My mind suddenly clicks that yes, there actually is a person beside me. Wait, I mean... She laughs wholeheartedly. My, Hisao. Her giggles punctuate her words, though she's making little effort to suppress them. Quite direct today, aren't we? Yeah, you got me there, I say. Still, it is quite a bit. Usually I go shopping with Hanako, so I know what she buys. It's the same thing every week. Huh. Is she a good cook? She gives a nervous giggle. It's usually me who ends up cooking. I used to do so for Akira, so it's no problem doing it for Hanako as well. You can cook, but... A short hum with an amused lilt emanates from beside me. I wonder if the fact that she seems amused by my comments so often is actually genuine, or rather just from a want to make me more comfortable in addressing her blindness. There are ways around it, she says. Some meals are more difficult to cook than others because of being unable to see what I'm doing, but it usually only takes a little more time. Fingers can double as very useful measurement tools, for example. It makes sense, but she'd have to be pretty careful not to hurt herself. I wonder how many times that's happened, given that it sounds like she's cooked alone for possibly years while Akira worked and her parents were gone. With that, the conversation trails off. Compared to the awkward silences of Hanako, Lilly seems genuinely content to say what she thinks and stay quiet when there's nothing to say. The slick road under my feet is bathed in an orange glow, the occasional fallen leaf crunching underfoot as we walk. I let out a deep yawn, my lack of sleep coming back to haunt me. Did you not get much sleep last night? I couldn't sleep at all for the last 2 nights. Probably insomnia, I tell her. Lily's face suddenly becomes worried. It feels like a personal failure every time she gets worried about my well-being, even if it's genuinely nice to know someone cares. You have insomnia? Aren't you going to see the nurse about it? I shake my head. Nah, no real need. It's happened before a few times. My meds screw with my sleeping occasionally. Ah, I'm sorry, she says. Come on, it's not your fault. At least I shouldn't have any trouble getting to sleep tonight. You do worry me sometimes. I worry you? I reach around and scratch the back of my neck. I kind of want to address this. Hey, Lilly, I start. I don't mean to sound weird, but please try to forget about my heart condition. She looks kind of lost. I hardly blame her. I guess what I'm trying to get at is just don't treat me any differently because of it. She bows her head slightly, her white cheeks reddening almost imperceptibly. It's only natural to worry about those around you. Well, it's still nice to know there's someone like that out there. It may be somewhat embarrassing to say, but it's the truth. Lily takes a breath to regain her composure and manages a gentle smile, though her cheeks remain flushed. The final downhill walk to the store passes in silence. Welcome, the storewoman says. I suppose I'll get my stuff first and Hanako's on the second round. I grab 2 well-worn red baskets from the stack beside the entrance and pass one to Lily. Just as she did before, she lays it on the ground and slides her retracted cane between the basket's handles before picking it back up with her right hand. When she takes hold of my arm in her own, I'm surprised at just how fast this kind of casual contact became so natural. Mostly due to necessity, no doubt. Shall we? Sure. While we navigate around the store, the odd person occasionally passing us pays us no heed at all. It's nice compared to the stares and whispers around the city. As we reach each aisle, I quickly check with Lily what she needs and grab it along with what I want, putting our items into their respective baskets. It's an odd feeling to be depended on so much for something so basic as shopping. Hanako would be practically a necessity for her to pick out what she wants, after all. Right, I'm pretty much done with both my stuff and Hanako's. You needing anything else, Lily? No, this should be everything. Off we go then. Oddly, there's a queue a mile long. Considering the store is only large enough to warrant one counter, seems like it'll take a while. Damn, I say. Lily gives an inquisitive look, unable to see the reason for my complaint. The queue's really long, I explain. Looks like we'll have to wait. How strange. Sharing the same mood of resignation, we reluctantly take our place at the end of the line. One person finishes, the line moves up. Another person finishes, the line moves up. By the time we finally reach the head of the line, I'm so close to dozing off that Lily has to gently pat me on the back for me to move up. Hisao? Hisao? Ah, sorry. She gives a short sigh of consternation as I move up, getting the groceries for Hanako and me put into separate bags. Thank you, please come again. By the time we emerge from the store, Lily's holding a single bag, while I struggle to carry 4, both hands well and truly full. It's a lot of work, but thankfully the items in them are light. Even without looking skyward, it's obvious that a surprising amount of time's passed, the road outside being dark and lit by street lamps. Once Lily retrieves her cane, we set out back to the dormitories the way we came, leaving the welcoming warm glow of the store. Despite the road being empty of cars, the full bags abundantly make up for the lack of noise, constantly clunking and squeaking together. My, Hisao, it's good to find that you're eating well, Lily jokes. I'm a growing guy after all. I need to eat all I can. It must be nice being a man. What? I say. Seemingly not noticing or ignoring my surprise at the completely out of left field comment, she continues on without missing a beat. Weight doesn't really bother you when eating most of the time. Ah, I get what you mean. Women tend to worry about stuff like that more than we do, I guess. Exactly. It makes me somewhat envious, to be honest. Well, it's not like we can outright ignore it, I say. With an affirmative nod, we continue on our walk. Huh, that's right. What is it? Lily asked. Hanako mentioned your birthday was earlier this year. Do anything special for it? She gives a long pause, lost in thought for a few seconds as she recalls the event. Not really. It was just Hanako and me having a little party during the night after school. Your birthday's supposed to be a big event, you know. Sounds like a pretty lonely way to spend a birthday, just her and Hanako staying overnight. Birthdays always felt like a family occasion for me. They were a time when, in spite of their full-time jobs, both my parents would make an effort to be there for the day, or at least for a party beforehand. It reminds me of how Lily mentioned she hasn't seen her family in such a long time, and even ended up moving away from Akira's house afterwards. But I guess it's the same in situations as mundane as these. Considering her inability to read the packaging, just getting groceries would be a pain without somebody else around. In the end, she just has Hanako and me, and Akira when she's off from work. Be that as it may, she still seems to have many more distant friends among the students, not to mention people like Yuko. It seems to be her choice that there's such a separation between those who are close to her and those who she only socializes with. It humbles me a little to see how Lily seems to have her life set up and going just as she wants. Yet, Hanako is there for her to celebrate her birthday, and I'm here helping her with shopping. It's a weird kind of symbiosis, I suppose. Are you all right, Hisao? Lily interrupts my thoughts. Sorry? You just seem to go very quiet, that's all. Ah, sorry. I was just thinking. Oh? Ah, now I've piqued her curiosity. It feels kind of overly personal to talk about, though. It was just kind of... I was thinking about how you seem to have everything so sorted out, even with Hanako relying on you. I can admit that even I kind of relied on you when I first transferred in. I think it's a good quality to have. I turned to Lily, surveying her reaction. She's forcing herself to look forward and furrowing her brow quite a bit. Her face looks a bit awkward, as if she was trying to find just the right words. Lily? I ask. I would thank you, but assuming I don't rely on the presence of others is too much. You'd be wrong to think that Hanako simply depends on me with nothing in return. She seems to have a bit of trouble saying it, even though it's largely what I thought already. If she's tried so hard to maintain her independence, as anyone would have had to in her position, sighted or not, maybe she finds it hard to talk about her own needs. It's only now that I realize an omission in what she says, though. I decide to follow it up, largely in jest, to avoid things getting too personal. "Oh," I say, "and what about me?" She suddenly runs ahead of me and turns, blocking me off. With a smile, she holds her hands behind her as she leans forward. "You're different." And with that, she turns back and continues to walk ahead of me, a newfound spring in her step. All I can do is raise an eyebrow and give a dazed grin. I don't think I've ever seen this playful and teasing side of her before. So, I'm different. It's hard to work out the exact context, but knowing her, this ambiguity was intended. Our relationship has been changing, at the very least, simply because I've begun to stand on my own feet more and started getting more curious about the situation of those around me. As to why, probably a mix of personal curiosity and a want to try and work out how to deal with my situation. I'm less sure of Lilly, though. That's why her own statement, so similar to my own feelings toward her, throws me off so much. Watching her make her way up the street, cane tapping from left to right, I decide to settle the matter later and just smile. This is a nice side to her, and I don't want to forget it. Eventually, we get to the girls' dormitories, both my arms aching from the weight of 2 sets of groceries. We're finally here. Phew. I bend down to wipe my forehead with the back of my hand. Lily stops in front of her door and sets down her bag, fishing around in her pocket for the key. "Thank you, Hisao. I really appreciate your help." This is nothing." "It might be nothing to you," she says, "but it's definitely something for me." And with that, she steps through her door, closing it behind her. I blink. Those were nothing but honest thanks, but I can't help feeling something different about them. Anyway, I have something else to do before I can mull on that at my leisure. I turn back to the door to Hanako's room and proceed to knock twice in quick succession, the bag still in my hand, rustling together. After a couple of seconds, the door slowly opens. If one weren't looking closely, they could be forgiven for thinking it hadn't moved at all. I twist my head to the side to try and peer through the tiny sliver of a gap between the door and the doorframe. "Hey, Hanako, I've got your stuff." "Ah." With that, she opens the door completely, making her plain room visible over her shoulder. Sparsely decorated, it's probably even more unremarkable than my room. I hold out my right arm, both bags almost pulling it straight back down with their weight. Thank you, Hisao. I'm sorry to make you carry them all this way." "It's fine," I tell her. "Don't worry. Just don't make me do it every day, okay?" I pass the bags to her as I give a lighthearted chuckle. After the initial transfer of weight, she manages to take them easily. "I'll be off then. Night, Hanako." "Good night. See you in class tomorrow." With a deep bow, her groceries still held in both hands, she steps back and shuts the door. Making my way back to my own dorm, I put one bag into my other hand to balance them out. Even as I do so, I can't get Lily's lighthearted smile out of my mind. When I first met her, it would have been nearly impossible to imagine her like that. Indeed, it feels like we've become closer in the past few weeks since I first got to know both her and Hanako. The time that I spend with her each day, the small exchanges of happiness we share, those small moments of joy as I get closer to her. I'm far from certain, but I don't think these are just the normal feelings of friendship. Once I return to my room, I store away my groceries and begin getting ready for the night. I swap the school books in my bag for those I need tomorrow, pulling out the yellow envelope Misha gave me earlier in the process. I got so sidetracked by one thing after another that I couldn't deal with it earlier. Who could have written me, I wonder? The name neatly adorning the back of the envelope freezes me in my tracks. It's been so long since I've seen her writing, there's little chance I could have identified it as hers otherwise. Iwanako. Why should she have written me? I can't think of any good reason for her to do this. I almost don't open the letter, but there'd be little point to that. If I just left it alone, its mere existence would gnaw at me until I did something about it. I look down at the piece of paper on my desk, its bright and summery decoration beaming happily at me. The lettering is in pink, jarring badly with the yellow sunflower border on the card. The handwriting is neat, the characters having been written thoughtfully and with an unusual amount of care. I'd barely given the letter a second thought when it was given to me, but now I can't get its contents out of my mind. While I'd like to say that I don't know why she used such an old-fashioned method of communication, considering a phone call or an email would be both much faster and easier, the answer feels obvious enough given the content. A letter leaves a comfortable distance between the sender and the recipient. Unlike a phone, it isn't required that you engage in conversation, and unlike email, there's less expectation of an immediate reply. Statements such as, "The third years seem to be very anxious about the final exams," and "It's so weird to think we are already seniors, isn't it?" are just small talk. Small talk that could have been achieved by simply replying to any of the messages I sent her while in hospital. The ending, though, is the true reason she sent this. The last couple of lines added almost as an afterthought. "I wonder if we will meet again. Perhaps it's for the best if we don't." It's a statement that should hurt. I've always heard breakups are nasty stuff, but it feels like this is simply a reaffirmation of what we both already knew instead. It's the preceding text, no more than small talk, that makes me feel most uneasy. I can't figure out why, no matter how long I sit here and look down at this bright and summery piece of paper. If you would like to correspond with me, by all means write me back. It's plainly obvious that this is not the type of letter to be replied to. In the end, this letter is no more than a simple abdication of responsibility, a final statement to reassure herself that our relationship is over. As such, I find I have little problem in scrunching the letter and envelope into a ball and tossing it in the waste bin, ridding myself of its existence. I go to bed with mixed feelings, cheated out of a pleasant evening by this intruder from the past. Ironically, it takes a while before I can manage to sleep. So we have a rather eventful episode, as it seems to occur any time that the characters leave the bounds of the Yamaku and go out back into, as Hisao has referred to, the real world. Starts off where we find out that he's having massive amounts of trouble sleeping. His insomnia from his medications and all has kicked in, and he's had about 2 days without sleep and is even falling asleep during class. This allows a little confrontation between him and the student council duo, in which they also give him a letter. The dreaded letter from Iwanako shows up finally in this particular path. Hisao doesn't have time to deal with it at the moment, however, stuffs it into his bag. As when he's leaving to go to his dorm and catch a nap, he runs into Hanako, who's asked him if he might accompany Lilly down into town today to help Lilly with the shopping and to do Hanako's shopping for her, since she is going to be tied up studying for tomorrow's science test. The consensus seems to be of two paths here. One being that it's good to see that Hanako is brightening up and is taking class more seriously and studying and all, and the other one being that this is a ploy on her part to have the two of them spend more time together, that she can play matchmaker between Hisao and Lilly just as much as Lilly can between her and him during Hanako's path. If that is Hanako's reasoning and motive, it definitely is working well, as Hisao and Lilly have a very pleasant walk into town with a lot of chatting and some background information being passed along. For instance, he finds out that Lilly does most of the cooking. Hanako may buy lots of groceries, but while it doesn't come out in this one as blatantly as it does in Hanako's path, when asked if Hanako cooks, she just kind of giggles and says, I do most of the cooking. And you find out that she did so whenever she and Akira lived together as well, so she must be pretty good at it, and another matter at which she has learned to overcome what would be seen as a shortcoming. But we also find out that when she finds out that Hisao has been having trouble sleeping lately, that she becomes very worried about him, and this troubles him because he doesn't want his friends worrying about him, and he asks her to forget that he has a heart condition, even though he does admit that it's nice to have somebody out there that worries about him like that. Lilly covers for any kind of deeper meaning it may have by simply saying that, well, it's perfectly natural to worry about the people around you. So we don't know right yet whether there's anything deeper to it or whether she just part of her mothering nature. That brings us to the walk back where we have decision time. We sit there in silence, walking along, thinking about how Lilly seems to have her life all planned out and everything working and has everything going the way she wants it, with some friends who are close to her and then her social crowd that she hangs out with as well. And the silence, as he says, piques her curiosity, and she asks, what are you thinking about? And we had the decision, do we tell her the truth and speak to what's going through our mind, or do we just basically go, nothing, that kind of thing? We told the truth about how we feel and see the way her life is working, and that is a good thing to do. Lilly is very much into any time you tell the truth. Pretty much, I think there's only a couple of decisions along her path, but always choosing to tell the truth or to be honest is always the best way to get on her good side. So Hisao tells her what he was thinking and all about how she has her life planned out and how nice it is that she's such the kind of person that she can take people under her wing and have them help her, help them, the way that she has helped Hanako, the way Hanako depends on her, and as he says, the way he depended on her so much whenever he first came to the school too. And she corrects him and says, I'm flattered, but don't think that I don't get something out of it as well. That, Hanako gives me something just as much as what I give her. And he feels things are getting a little too personal there, so he jokes and says, well, what about me? And that's whenever she gives the very humorous and flirtatious, you're different, and then goes scurrying off. So once again, like I said, all these little things coming up that definitely make it seem that their relationship is changing and going in a new direction. And so blatantly obvious that even Hisao seems to be picking up on it for once. Even though, as he says, there's still enough wiggle room there, as she says, it's definitely something for me. Enough wiggle room there to guard both of them's feelings. That maybe it is just deep appreciation and friendship, and not anything any more meaningful than that. So finally, we return back to the dorm room and take the homework assignments out and the mysterious letter, at which point we find out that it is from Iwanako. We have a much more abbreviated read through it in this one than we do in any of the other pathways, and seems to be quite a bit more final, too. You have the whole Emmy pathway where he crumpled it up immediately and threw it away, and then had to pull it back later and try to deal with it, which he never felt that he ever did. Same kind of situation with the Hanako path, and this time he reads through the letter and, at least at the moment, seems to be getting some closure from it. As he says, it's just basically her way of saying goodbye. It's a Dear John letter, and she's abdicating any more part in this relationship, and he throws it in the waste bin. We will definitely have to see whether or not it stays there. He has pulled out the crumpled up letter once before and tried to deal with it, so we'll see later whether that happens in this one too.